Hey there, greetings, and I'm really excited to be joining you this semester for a three-dimensional design course. We're going to be exploring every aspect of three-dimensional design, and my main purpose here is just to welcome you and throw a few design kind of ideas your way. And the first concept I want to play with is that design is everything. It's everywhere. Everything you look at, everything you touch, everything you use, every building you walk through, every car you drive in, everything you experience has been designed for better or for worse. So, I mean, we can use some examples and we'll talk about some good design. It's interesting, it's harder to find examples of bad design, but I think if I tried a little harder, it wouldn't be so bad. So this is a face mask, and it's one that my favorite face mask. You know, it's sad that we live in a time where face masks are something we know about and use all the time. Now, this design I like, you know, it's kind of attractive, nice kind of batik-like material, but what I really like is this component. My brother gave me this. When I let it go, it's here. So I can just have it hanging here on me. And then if I need to go into a store and use a face mask, it's there. And I don't have to go digging for it, searching for it. It's got a pretty good fit, but it's not, I mean, if we're talking about elements that maybe are not so wonderful, it's not an N95. It's not a perfectly filtering mask. But that's, I think, overall a good design. We could look at some other things. I mean, it's kind of interesting. Sometimes you think something's a bad design. Like I've always been fascinated by, this is going to sound a little strange, but the cups that they use at Denny's. It always used to boggle my mind. I used to think it was terrible design, the Denny's cups for coffee, so thick, so massive, so heavy. And you take, you know, you get this thing, it's thick and massive. By the time the coffee's in it, it's already chilled the coffee because there's so much mass of the cup. It's uncomfortable, it's heavy to use, it's thick-lipped, just seems like a terrible design. And then I realized, no, it's an excellent design for the purpose it was designed for. It wasn't designed for me to enjoy a cup of coffee. It was designed, the primary idea for it was, how do you make a cup of coffee? A coffee cup that will survive use after use, being transported and washed and delivered to the table by people who do not like their jobs. They hate their jobs, or for the most part aren't crazy about their jobs. So this cup has to survive that, and it's beautifully designed to do that. It's like a little tank. So that's an example where you know, sometimes the design is telling you something that you may not understand. You know, there's all different kinds of design. There's natural design in a sense. We might even call it evolution. This is a banana, and it is a really interesting object. It's super functional. It holds the food inside. It's durable. It transports well, and it's attractive. It changes color. It's got easy access to the food, and yet so it does everything. It's visually wonderful. It protects things, and you might argue, well, this is more a kind of an evolutionary quality, and it did for some reason. There's something about natural forces, natural things that have an innate kind of beauty about them and functionality. So there's natural design. So we're thinking about, this is ridiculous, isn't it? I mean, this is a toy, and these just make me laugh. They're toys that are available for very little money, and I just love them because you squeeze them. Whoops. Let's see if it's going to work. Yep, and there it goes, and out goes the ball, just pops off and runs away. So they're just funny. I just think they're kind of funny, and they kind of charm me in a way. Here is this is a different kind of, this is sort of a sentimental design. This is a little handmade bunny rabbit stuffed doll here that it's a little hard to see. There she is. And I found these in Denmark and brought it home for my daughter, who doesn't particularly like it, but I just love this thing. So it sits around our house now. Just lovely little bunny. Yeah, I don't know, it's a sort of sentimental thing, and that's a really important aspect, especially for those of us that are artists, is that we are trying to create objects that people will identify with and develop some kind of affection or affinity for. That's kind of what we're after, is creating something that compels people to want to live with them and be with them. That's part of what we do. I think this might qualify as the only thing that I might say is it's a mixed blessing, and a lot of design is. So this is, of course, a crock. And one of the things about crocks that are so fascinating to me is that they're basically clunky visually. They're very clunky on the foot. I don't think I've never ever met anybody who said, whoa, they were looking hot in those Crocs. But I'm a potter, and so it's a shoe that can be hosed off, and they're not uncomfortable, and they used to be affordable. They're kind of more expensive now, but I think visually, they don't have the same. They're not performing the same fashion functions that, say, a really nice shoe might. Here's an example of a bad design here. This is a dog toy, and the original plan was you put some actual treats in here, you push them in here, and that keeps your dog totally fascinated and compelled, trying to get the impossible task of getting a treat through these little, and they'll go at it for hours, unless, of course, they're like my dog, in which case she just chews right through it. So that maybe some improvements to be made there. There are other things which I find exquisitely designed and beautiful. This is a shoe last, and it's just a gorgeous object. The materials are gorgeous, and you can hear I'm listening. It's a hard wood. It's got some metal inlay in it. It's got some hinging going on here. There's some hinging you can see in the thing. And it's got a human foot shape. It was used by cobblers, a pretty much dead art form now, but it's just an object. It also has a lot of kind of nostalgia or historic quality. It's got a time component to it. It comes from another time, another place. You can see it moving in and out of the screen there. And that's an intriguing object, and you're going to be searching for so many intriguing objects in this class. And they can be everywhere and affordable. And really, here's a little. This is a rusted old sardine tin that I found when I was backpacking, and I think this will make a beautiful component. What do we do with these? Well, you'll have opportunities to do things like the pieces that are behind me. You can see these are assemblage. And assemblage is kind of like a three-dimensional collage, and you might use objects like this in making compositions for your assemblage. You'll learn all about that in the work. So yeah, I have lots of objects here. We could talk about, souvenirs, sentimentally valuable things. Here, this is a little Statue of Liberty that I've had for many, many years, probably 30, 40 years now. There's just so many different objects that we could contemplate and use. So this is the class we're going to be involved with. You'll be able to find most of the materials you'll need are easily accessible or easily obtainable. The way the class works is that we'll spend the semester moving in three different directions. One is there will be reading that will connect you directly to the basics of three-dimensional design, the principles of design and the visual elements that you need to be aware of when you're thinking in 3 dimensions. And you can see them. You heard me using some of those ideas. I'm talking about the materials. Sometimes I'll talk about the color, the charm. These are all components of a design that you'll start to think about when you look at objects. Behind me here, this piece, these 3 objects here might be in the classification of mitate, which is an assignment you'll have. Mitate is a term that means kind of a high class recycling. You find something that literally is cast off, thrown away, and then you find a way to present it that makes everybody interested in it and finds it to be valuable, venerable, intriguing, engaging. So you take something of no value, literally cast off, and you make it wonderful. These pebbles here were found along Clear Lake, and you can see that I've arranged them in a composition on this assemblage that hangs on the wall. And there's lots of different qualities going on. There's the quality of time from all the rusting. There's the layering of different things. There's the geometry of the diamond shapes and the circle shapes. There's a linear quality of this back plate here. And then this is an old piece of furniture that I've taken a chunk out of with these wooden assembly points here. But these little guys, these stones were, they were ammunition. They were slingshot stones used by the native peoples who lived around Clear Lake because they hunted waterfowl, and they would use slingshots and shoot them with these. And so there's all these little round stones. So they have some history, they have some cultural context, they have some significance, and it makes the piece, gives the piece a little bit more resonance and interest. And you'll learn how to do that. You'll learn how to take objects and put them in a context where we all care a little bit more about them. So this semester, just to break it down, again, 3 things. One is to learn the basics through our reading, to experience the basics through the various assignments that we'll go through. We'll have about 9 assignments, I think. And what I want you to do is really throw yourself into those. Think of yourself as a fine artist making a work of art, and stick with them until they really start to sing, until they mean something to you. They inspire you. They're visually intriguing. They're compelling. Keep with those assignments and keep working on them until you really find a solution that you would love to live with, or maybe somebody else wants to buy from you. That would be great as well. There's all kinds of materials that you can use. Some really unexpected. I showed you that sardine can, which seems like worthless, but look at this. This is even less of less value. Here I have a collection of wishbones. Let's see if I can get that to come in there. There's a wishbone from a chicken. It's a chunk of chicken right there. And I use these quite often in sculpture. I like the metaphor. I like the idea of something that we have that we wish on. It's this bone from a chicken. And I've actually used them successfully in sculptures. I've sold sculpture. I sold a sculpture for $3,000. Had 3 wishbones in it though. Anyway, so all kinds of things here. So I don't think I've ever quite finished this 3 aspects of the class. So I'm going to go at this one more time. So you're going to read the basics. We're going to practice the basics. And there's also some information about you as a creator. And the reading has some information about creativity. We'll have discussions about your own process as artists in this class, making this work. And it's going to be a fantastic class. There's also another component, which we may explore a little bit right in the beginning. There's an information about Bruce Mau, the designer, who sees design as an element of change, as a kind of radical movement. He's one source of that. There's a magazine called Adbusters, which is filled with designers who see design as a radical method of changing the world around us. So it's going to be a great semester. We're going to have a great time. This is just to welcome you in. And remember, if you have any questions, any comments, any thoughts, you can reach me at mark.lancet@solano.edu. So that's marc.lancet@solano.edu. So stay safe and make art.